Greetings and welcome there viewers, Essence of Thought here. Today I want to talk about how to use the Occam's cosmological argument, aka OCA, which is one of my more original counter-arguments for the Kalam cosmological argument, or KCA. But first we need to go over just what is Occam's razor. So I've got a scenario here to run through with you guys that will hopefully demonstrate this. Most people probably know the quote, "The simplest answer is often correct." And now, whilst true in a sense is a highly compressed version that allows for a lot of interpretation, so we best go through it in full. So here we have our two debaters. They're arguing over what is known as the Great Spill, an event that occurred when Mrs. Norris had a pitcher of milk and then returned to find that the pitcher had been knocked over. So on one side of the debate we have Mr. L, who's running with the leprechaun hypothesis, and on the other we have Mr. C running with the cat hypothesis. So in their arguments, both sides will make a number of claims. For one, both sides agree upon the fact that, to fall over, the milk pitcher must have once been standing and therefore had a tipping point. In order for this to happen, there must have been a cause. Universal laws of cause and effect dictate this matter. That's where the two opposing ideas arise. L asserts that it must have been done by none other than a leprechaun. Yet to do this, he must also assert that leprechauns exist, that there was a leprechaun in the local area, and that this is typical behaviour for a leprechaun. C, however, asserts that it was in fact a cat. Yet, like L, he must assert that cats exist, and that there was a cat in the local area, and that this is typical behaviour for a cat. But now it's time for us to sort through these claims. Both L and C agree on the first premise, that there was a tipping point. This will be marked blue for fact. Then we have the claims that this is a typical behaviour for both creatures. As we know, many cats enjoy milk, yet not all do, so this is still an assumption, highlighted yellow. This could be said the same for leprechauns. We know that they like Lucky Charms, thus clearly like milk. So we highlight yellow for another assumption. On to the idea that there were cats in the local area. This is unknown, making it another assumption. The same can be said for leprechauns though. Finally, we have the claims that cat and leprechauns exist. This is the breaking point. You see, C can provide evidence for the existence of a cat, whereas L cannot do the same for leprechauns. This means that C's final claim is blue, a supported fact, whilst L's is yellow, an assumption. Occam's razor comes in at this point, dictating that the idea with the least number of unfounded assumptions is the one which should be accepted, making C's cat hypothesis the winner. C could go even further, for example, if he knew that Mrs. Norris owned a cat, and that her cat liked milk, he could eliminate those two assumptions and replace them with facts, making for a stronger sense of what happened. This is the same method of logic used in courts and everyday life. But back to why we're here. How does this play out in Occam's cosmological argument? As many of us know, the KCA runs on the following two premises and the third conclusion. Firstly, everything that has a beginning of its existence had a cause of its existence. Secondly, the universe has a beginning of its existence. Therefore, the universe has a cause of its existence. Yet there are major issues from the offset of this argument. Mainly the claim that everything has a beginning and therefore a cause. This would lead to what is known as an infinite regression, with a never-ending number of causes. The way that the theist attempts to overcome this is by asserting that God is the only first uncaused cause. One may then offer the simple rebuttal that the universe itself could be the first uncaused cause, remembering that the very idea of cause and effect is a universal law existing internally to the universe. yet often this assertion will be met with a special pleading fallacy: God can, universe can't, which should simply be disregarded as a fallacious argument. So, like the two opposing ideas on the Great Spill, we have a number of claims that come with both of our debaters' arguments. Firstly, both of them accept in this argument that the universe had a beginning, at least in the sense in its current state. Therefore, this will be highlighted in blue. We move on to another claim that both sides make, that something has the ability to exist without a creator. For the theist, this something is God. For the atheist, it's the universe. Both of these are unfounded assumptions and, like before, must be highlighted yellow. So it seems that we reached a stalemate as far as Occam's razor is concerned. That is, until you notice that the theist argument doesn't follow through. God, being able to begin on its own devices, doesn't bridge the gap to the fact that the universe began, unlike the atheist claims that the universe began on its own devices and the universe began. Therefore, the theist is in need of a few extra claims, i.e., that God is capable of creating the universe, which is like the assertion that leprechauns were in the area in the previous discussion, and that it is in God's nature to create the universe. Without any evidence of these claims, they are unfounded assumptions. Already this means that on grounds of logical discourse, that the theist argument must be disregarded and the atheist argument taken as the superior of the two given. That is without the fact that to prove the ability and the character of God, the theist would have to prove the existence of God, adding a further unfounded assumption. If we head back over to the previous debate for a second and imagine if L had asserted that not only had leprechauns tipped the pitcher of milk, but the pitcher of milk being knocked over was evidence of leprechauns, we see a fundamental flaw in the argument's design. It is circular reasoning that self-supports itself. The KCA requires proof of God to match the OCA's ability for reason. Yet the whole purpose of the KCA is to prove God. For the KCA to be valid, one must first make it obsolete. So on a final note, thank you all for watching and I hope that you have enjoyed. This is Essence of Thought, out.